everybody. Good afternoon, John Gowan from Cincinnati. So nice you to always join us. Sorry we didn't get a chance to hook up while you were here in Pogradec, but we will when you come back, and I'm sure you will be coming back. So that'll be very exciting. I know you got to meet Andrea, but you and I didn't get to hook up, so that's kind of a shame. But next time, I'll buy a beer or a glass of wine on me. We'll have a nice chat. So. Yeah, hello everybody, and thanks for joining me tonight. Unfortunately, I'm flying solo again. Andrea has it's Mother's Day here in Albania, and the local expat women are having a get together, and she's going to go out with them as she should because she is a mom, and it is a special day for her. And so I'm on my own. I think at one point I said I'll probably never do a another live chat without her, and but here I am. Like it's the show must go on. Unfortunately, I would much rather have her here. She is such an asset, especially when it comes to engaging with the comments and keeping an eye on everything. Hello, Mary. Thanks for joining us. Hello, everybody. It was a beautiful week this week in Pogradec. We've had just fantastic weather. And I hope if you come to visit, that you will also have really nice weather. So, John, you'll be back April 5th permanently. All right. Well, then we'll have plenty of time to catch up. That's fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it. That's fun. I don't, forgive me, I don't remember. Are you coming by yourself or with a partner, with any pets or anything like that? I'd love to know, especially if you're bringing any pets. That could be of interest to people in the chat. That's that can be a difficult thing for a lot of people to do. I know Dan and Michelle brought their dog, and people do it. So it's kind of easy on this end. It can be a little bit hard going the other end if you try to bring an animal back to the U.S. or somewhere in the EU. There's a lot more paperwork involved. But bringing an animal here seems to be relatively straightforward, and there's a bunch of things you're supposed to do, but apparently nobody even checks it when you do it. So that seems to be what happens. My dad's here, Jack Zievis. Hi, Dad. Thank you so much for joining me. I love having you guys all here, and again, I apologize. Andrea can't make it, but she needs to go out and spend some time with the ladies for Mother's Day, and hopefully she will be back soon. I don't know if we'll be doing a live stream next Sunday. We have a lot going on. I'm not ready to disclose what we're doing yet, but she will definitely be back in the live streams as soon as possible. And actually, I don't. Neither one of us. I'm pretty sure we will not have a live chat next week. So I apologize for that. You guys are so good about sticking with me and showing up to the live chats, and I really enjoy interacting with you all. So today, we'll get right into it. We're going to talk about places you should really see in Albania if you come here to visit, or if you're an expat here and you haven't gone to some of these places. We're going to go through the list of places that I have been, and we're talking southern Albania, everything kind of south of Tirana. I'll mention one place that's north of Tirana, but it's just north of Tirana, like you can see it from the Tirana airport. And actually, well, let's just get right into it. So the first place is going to be just north of the Tirana airport, and it's a very old town called Cruya, and it's got a castle there. Skanderbeg, who is Albania's national hero, spent a lot of time there, and a lot of the castle that's still there was the castle that was there when he was there. There's a lot of old architecture from that period of time during the Ottoman occupation and the rebellion against the Ottoman occupation of Albania. It is a really unique town. I stumbled across it on accident. I had an extra day, and I had to get back to Toronto for my flight, and I ended up being ahead of schedule. And I was like, well, what do I do with an extra day? I spent a little time in Elbasan. Elbasan's cool. There's a castle there with a really good restaurant, but I didn't want to stay there overnight. And I had a whole extra day, so I was like, what am I going to do? And I kind of looked on the map, and I remembered somebody who told me, oh, Cruya is a really interesting town, and it's worth seeing, and it's just north of Tirana. So I was like, okay. So I punched that into the GPS and went to Cruya. And like I said, you can literally, when you're at the Tirana airport, you can literally see Cruya up on the mountain. And I went there, and it's absolutely worth it. If you have if you find yourself with extra time, or maybe like your travel plans to head south or something like that, or kind of incongruent, like, well, what am I going to do with my extra time? Tirana's great. Tirana is an amazing city. It's on the must-see list as well. I'll talk about Tirana in a second. But if you've already done Tirana and you realize, okay, well, I've done everything there is to see in Tirana. My flight leaves in 2 days. Well, I've got this extra time. What am I going to do? Go to Cruya. It is well worth it. There are buses that go there. If you have a rental car, it's easy to just pop up there. There are some really nice hotels that have fantastic views. I stayed at the Panorama Hotel. I had a balcony that overlooked the valley and the castle and the mountain, and just a really, really interesting, beautiful, and a very important historical place for Albania. So I highly, highly recommend it. There's also inside the castle, there's a large museum. A lot of it focused on Skanderbeg. Again, that's Albania's like national hero who led the uprising against the Ottomans. Very, very informative. If you can, honestly, I would probably, maybe if you are coming to Albania, make that your first stop, because it's a very good primer into a really, if you're interested in history, a really important part of Albanian history. And the castle and the cafes and everything else there. There's an old marketplace, and it's a really cool place. Cobblestone streets, all that kind of stuff. Very, very worth seeing. And then, so the other thing would be Tirana, which is the capital city here. It is very cosmopolitan. It has come a really, really long way in the past 5 years from even when, like, the first time I came here about 5 years ago. New buildings are going up all over the place, and they're doing a pretty good job of with the architecture. The buildings in Tirana have a lot of style to them. They're not boring. They're very interesting. There's one new building off of Skanderbeg Square that's kind of shaped like a human head, and that's really cool. Lots of really good food in Tirana. I mean, fantastic dining. That's the one place in Albania where you will be able to find things like Mexican food and Chinese food and things like that. No problem. Sushi all over the place. Lots of really good Albanian food as well, but probably more cosmopolitan in terms of the food choices. You're going to find stuff from all over the world, and it has really become a proper capital city. Whereas before, there was a lot less going on there. It didn't have as much of a metropolitan feel. Whereas now, when you go to Tirana, it's impressive. There's some really interesting things from the communist era. So the communist dictator, I wouldn't even call him a communist. He was really kind of just a dictator, basically. Built a series of bunkers all around the country, and his primary focus was the capital, because that's where he was. Of course, he was a self-absorbed dictator, and he wanted to protect himself. So he built a huge network of nuclear-proof underground bunkers in Albania, or in Tirana, I'm sorry. And there's two main ones, which is Bunkart 1 and Bunkart 2. And the one I visited was Bunkart 2, which is very close to Skanderbeg Square. In fact, it's like across the street, right in the center of the city. And you can go in there and you can learn about this era of Albanian history, which is very dark. Where people would literally were trying to escape from the country, and then they would be killed for trying to escape, and their families would even be kidnapped and everything. It was like really terrible stuff. But they've done a very good job of preserving this massive underground bunker complex. You can even go into like the command center where Enver Hoxha, he was the dictator, had his place and his boardroom and everything, where he would run the country from this underground bunker if he had to. Lots of corridors, radiation, decontamination rooms, and then just lots of rooms that they have set up to show bits and pieces of that history, of that dark history. So you'll see, in one room they'll have like the old police equipment that they used to oppress the population in Albania. The shields and the batons and the masks and the helmets and all that. and would explain what it is. And they'll have another room that'll show a map of where all the secret prisons were, the all sorts of things like that. Another room will have an example of some spy stuff. Like little listening devices, rifles, cameras, how they would tap phones, all that sort of thing. So it's really interesting. It is dark, um, but it's part of Albania's history. It's one of those things that I imagine it's in a weird way. It's like visiting Auschwitz in Germany. It's not a fun picnic day kind of place, but it's very informative and it's very interesting. And if you have any interest in the Cold War, it's kind of neat like that. And of course, on a hot day, it's really nice because you get down this escalator and you go deep into the earth, and it's very cool down there. And you can walk around in this bunker network underground and just kind of see what life would have been like, say that if Albania had gotten into a heated war with the West, or even with the rest of the East, because this guy Enver Hoxha was so insane that he had a bad relationship with Stalin, he had a bad relationship with Mao. He was so far beyond the pale. Like I said, I wouldn't even call him a communist. He was just a hardcore, self-absorbed dictator, a very disturbed and paranoid individual. So it is dark, but it's interesting. It's well worth visiting. I've been to it twice. I did some filming in there. I'm going to do a documentary on it eventually. Unfortunately, I didn't have the right camera back then, and a lot of the film came out really grainy and dark. In digital times, we'd call it noise. So it's not fantastic, but at some point I'm going to get back there and I'm going to bring my good camera and I'm going to photo document or video document it a little bit better and give a walkthrough and make a little mini documentary like I do. But anyway, so right in the center there of Tirana, you have Skanderbeg Square, which is made up of marble tiles from all over the country. And the idea is they have this huge public square in the center of the city, and all the marble tiles come from different parts of the country and all come together in the center of Tirana to kind of symbolize their unity. And of course, there's a statue of Skanderbeg, and it's surrounded by government buildings, the opera building, a pretty good bookstore, and a few of the new buildings that I talked about that have some really good, interesting architectural designs to them that are well worth it. Just walking around Tirana in general is fun. There's lots of shopping, lots of interesting little stores. Again, the cuisine is really fantastic. You're going to have a hard time finding a bad meal in Tirana. There's lots of good food. Well worth visiting. If you're coming here, maybe you're thinking, oh, I'm going to go to Albania and I'm hitting the beach, and then I'm getting back, taking a cab back to the airport and flying out. Take a day, go to Tirana, check it out. There's a castle in the center of the city that was built during Byzantine times originally, and it's really just a facade at this point. It's just like a couple outer walls, but the interior of it has been completely redone, and it's got a little windy path that goes through it. And it's all restaurants and shops, and it's a little pricey, but it's still good. It's not like you're going to go in there and get ripped off, especially prices in Albania are pretty good. And I think my mom and my dad and we went out and we had a really good meal at one of the restaurants in there for maybe 80 euros between the three of us. So well worth it. And it's very well done too. The way they laid it out and the way they made it look, it's really cool. So yeah, Tirana, bunk art, great cuisine, really cool architecture. There's also the House of Leaves, which is kind of goes back to that Cold War era, and it's completely about the spycraft and the secret police that were in charge back in the time of the dictator. And it's in the old building that was for the secret police, and you go through it, and it's got all sorts of things, listening devices, all the like different types of cameras and things like that they would use to spy on people, all the different recording devices they would use, how they would use the photo labs, and the lists of people that they thought were conspiring against the government. And again, it's another part of that dark history, but again, it is a part of Albania's history, and it's well worth visiting as well. So the city today is bright and vibrant and exciting. What else is there? So in Skanderbeg Square, there's also a mosque from the Ottoman period that was preserved. One of the things that this horrible dictator did is I'm not a religious person, but he was very so rigid against religion that he destroyed many of the Orthodox churches, including some of the old Byzantine churches and many of the Ottoman mosques, and just banned religion entirely, which is a shame because it destroyed a lot of Albania's history and architecture. But some of the really remarkable ones he didn't get to, and was maybe talked out of destroying. So there is a really nice mosque right in the corner of Skanderbeg Square from the Ottoman period, and it's really cool. And it's worth like a couple euros to go inside. The interior is painted with motifs, and it's not big, but it's very nice. I have some video of that as well, and at some point I'm going to get to posting that. So there's that to see. There are some. The new Orthodox Church is actually pretty beautiful inside as well. There's the pyramid, which was originally built, and then this dictator was such an asshole. It was basically built as a mausoleum for him, and it's a big pyramid in the center of town with staircases that go up the sides, and the interior is hollow. And now there's like shops and art exhibits and things like that inside. But the really cool thing is all the staircases around the outer edge of the pyramid you can go up, and on top there's a platform and beautiful views of the city. So Albania, like in the last 2 years, just got done rehabbing it. It was like shut down and had a fence around it for God, maybe a decade. So it wasn't even accessible. But now you can go up to the top of that, look around, get really nice views of the city. I went up there. I don't remember what holiday it was, but there were fireworks going. It may have been New Year's. I was at Skanderbeg Square and watched the fireworks there, and then went up to the pyramid and watched a few more fireworks from there. And it was really cool, really cool. Lots of people up there too. It's well used. And the nice thing about Tirana is the city is compact. So everything you want to see, and a lot of the good restaurants and the attractions are all pretty much in the same place. I've never rented a car. You can walk all around Tirana. It's really easy. There's taxis everywhere as well. There's a new, speaking of religious buildings, there is a new mosque that has been built, and it's stunning. It's really a beautiful building. I took Andrea there last time we were there, and we both went in, and beautiful, really beautiful building. So, and again, everything walkable in the same area, and some very cool bars and things like that too. So, yeah, Tirana is a great city, but we'll move on to the coast, to what's called the Albanian Riviera, and we'll start at Durres, which is just outside of Tirana. So if you leave Tirana and head straight to the coast, Durres is going to be the first city you come to. And I've heard people call it like the Miami of Albania, and I can kind of see that. There is a section of town that's does kind of look Miami-ish. It's got some pastel colors, and it's got some cool boulevards. It was formerly the Roman city of Dyrrhachium, and it's where Caesar defeated the some of not Caesar Caesar Augustus, Caesar's nephew, who became the first Roman emperor, is where his armies actually defeated the senatorial armies of Pompey, Crassus, and Brutus. One of the biggest battles of that Roman civil war before the Roman Empire turned into the Imperial Roman Empire, as opposed to the Roman Republic that also was somewhat imperial. And it's the first time that Rome had an emperor, and that battle could easily be said as one of the turning points. And there is a big ancient amphitheater there. There's a really good museum, which unfortunately was closed when I was there. There's some old, big chunks of the city walls are still there. You can see there's a Byzantine forum in one section. So there's a lot of neat things to see in Durres. There are some beaches there. They're not as nice, anywhere near as nice as the beaches in the other parts of Albania, but it's worth a day. The rest of Durres, like outside of the main section where the ancient city was, and where there's the more touristic and beachy scene, can be a little rough, but the core of Durres is actually really nice. And it's definitely worth it, especially if you're into history. Like I said, it used to be the Roman city of Dyrrhachium, a very important city. It's where the Via Egnatia started, which went from the coast there all the way to Constantinople. So it's been a very important city for thousands of years. So well worth a visit. And then heading south, one of the next major cities you'll come across is going to be Vlora. And Vlora is kind of one of my favorite cities here on the coast because it's a really nice mix of it's got a great beach. It's I wouldn't say it's touristy, but it's got a lot of stuff for tourists. It's got a really beautiful wide boulevard with palm trees, really great biking lanes and things like that. So it's a really comfortable place to be if you're on vacation, and it's still a real Albanian city. So you walk into town a little bit, and the prices are pretty good. And if you ever come here like to live or want to stay long term, you can. It's a big. I think it's the second biggest city in Albania. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's correct. You can find pretty much anything you want there. It'll have everything. It's you go to some places in Albania, and if there might be things that you're not able to find there, like here in Pogradec, there might be certain like food ingredients and so forth that we have a hard time finding. We usually do end up finding them, but little things like I had to order a meat thermometer or a digital thermometer for like canning and doing things like that online because I couldn't find one here. That's not going to happen to you in a place like Vlora. It's a big city. It's going to have everything you want. Beautiful beaches, a nice, big tree lined boulevards, lots of shopping, lots of really good food. It's a cool place, and it's also very nearby to the ancient city of Apollonia. So if you watch my channel normally, or if you don't watch my channel normally, I appreciate if you check this out. I recently released a documentary on ancient Apollonia, which is a very quick day trip from Vlore. Very worth seeing. Lots of really cool ancient Greek and Roman buildings. It originally was an Illyrian town, but the Illyrians invited Greeks to settle there, and they kind of subjugated to some extent the Illyrians that were there. They made it their own, and then they, of course, became subjugated to the Roman Empire. And interestingly enough, we were just talking about Dyrrhachium in that famous battle where Caesar Augustus's forces defeated the senatorial forces to create the Imperial Roman Empire. Young Caesar Augustus at that time went by the name Octavian. He was actually there studying when his uncle, Julius Caesar, was stabbed to death by the Senate. And I can imagine him being there studying in Apollonia and learning all these Greek philosophy and so forth in this really cool city, and then getting this terrible news that his uncle had been murdered, and realizing that this was his chance to become an important part of history, and his inheritance would be basically the Roman Empire, and made that fateful decision in Apollonia that he was going to, he could have just like kept his money and done what he wanted, but he decided he was going to go and fight, and went back to Rome, and won all these battles with the help of Caesar's former allies and so forth, and became the first Roman emperor. And it's neat. It's very interesting, and it's a very worthwhile archaeological site to see. There's also a really interesting Byzantine monastery there. A lot of this was well preserved because when the Turks took over the country, the city had mostly been abandoned. Towards the end of the classical Roman period, there was a huge earthquake, and the city became mostly abandoned. And in the Byzantine period, they did build this really nice monastery, but most of everybody there was monks and clergy and things like that. So the city was mostly ruins, and then they had this Byzantine monastery kind of in the center of what would have been the old ancient city. And it is a really cool site. Now that monastery is a museum, and so all of the artifacts and everything they found in ancient Apollonia are inside the monastery. And my dad and I went there, and like I said, I made a mini documentary on it, and it's on my YouTube channel, so check that out. Very cool place. If you're in Vlora, it's maybe a 30-minute ride, well worth seeing. Definitely one of the better archaeological parks in all of Albania, and something that anybody on a trip here should take a look at. Let's see, I've got some comments. Andrea says she's going out tonight. I love you too, Andrea. It's fine you can't be here tonight, and I'm glad you're going out with the ladies for Mother's Day. It's Mother's Day here in Albania. Hello, this will Scrabble buddy. Wow, man, isolation is crazy here in the 90s. Yeah, I think Albania. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce how you say that. Albi Lee. I think he's talking about Durres. Yeah, there was a lot of extreme poverty here in Albania, and there still is a lot of poverty here in Albania, but it's come an awfully long way, and has made some serious strides. So anyway, yeah, Vlora, it's a great city, very close to Apollonia. There's also another ancient archaeological site called Anantia, which is also like another 30 to 45-minute ride outside of Vlora. Well, we're seeing as well a lot of interesting ruins there, but not nearly as extensive as Apollonia. Apollonia really is a gem of what's left from that era in Albania, and it's seen everything from the Illyrians, the Greeks, the Romans, the Byzantines, and not so much the Ottomans, which is nice. They kind of left it alone, and that's why there's so much there, because it wasn't dismantled and used so much to rebuild an Ottoman city because of the earthquake. Everybody, the city was mostly abandoned by the time the Ottomans came anyway, so they left it alone, and that's why there's so much there, and it's really worth seeing. So as you head down the coast, there are going to be some other cities, and this is where there is a lot of Greek influence here in Albania. We're right on the border of Greece, and some of the city, when you get down to the south part of Albania, some cities are like Greek speaking. The road signs will be in Greek and everything. There's a lot of Greek pride. So there are cities like Himare, which has a castle that is like, the village is inside the castle. And that's a really cool place to visit. I got a chance to stay there, and I really enjoyed staying in Himare. I was up in the castle in a really nice Airbnb. Very affordable, very cool, amazing views of the Adriatic Sea, just fantastic. And you can then you go up there, you get your room, you hang out, and then you can wander around this ancient castle, and which is like, it's like half village, half castle now. Part of it's in ruins, part of it's in homes that have been refurbished and so forth. And it's really interesting. And you can, once you do that, you leave the castle and you go down into the valley and the beach, and you have the modern town of Himare, where it's full of restaurants and cafes and a really nice beach. I went snorkeling there and had a really good time. Really beautiful, crystal clear water, just a really stunning place. I did a little bit of hiking there too. There's a peninsula that kind of sticks out near where the castle is, and there's a trail that kind of goes over this peninsula and into the next little beachy area, and that made for an interesting walk. And yeah, Himare is one of my favorite places in Albania, and it's a real gem. Especially if you speak Greek, and like almost everybody there speaks Greek and Albanian, but Greek is usually the first language there, and it's like being in Greece and Albania, and it's really cool. Another city that's very similar to that is the city, or I should say town, I don't really call it a city, is Dhermi, which is just gorgeous. You would think you've been transported to somewhere in Greece. I mean, it's basically a Greek town in Albania. And people there will speak Albanian and Greek, and it's gorgeous. It's really beautiful, really good hiking around that area. It is on the side of the mountain with stunning views of the Adriatic. The only downside to that is if you're older and you're not as fit as you maybe should be or would like to be. It's a lot of steep walking to get around that town and to really see it, but the homes there are gorgeous. You can imagine, I wouldn't say Santorini-ish, but that's like, you can kind of get the idea of lots of stucco homes, some blue dome churches and things like that. Really beautiful. It has a gorgeous beach as well. Like I said, though, it is like on a kind of a steep mountain. So to get to the beach from the upper town, which is the old town, which is the really beautiful part of it. You're going to need a car. It's not really walkable. It's maybe that might be a kilometer to 2 kilometers down the hill to get there. So a bit of a walk. Easy to go down, but the coming back up, it's going to be a steep walk. So, and now there's a lot of hotels and stuff on that beach, and there's more of a modern area. I haven't been there since it's been modernized, and Albania has been really moving forward quickly with modernization and the tourism industry. When I was there before, all the hotels were there. There was a really beautiful beach. I don't know what that beach looks like now with the hotels being there, and if they are charging you to get onto the beach or charging you to try and use a sunbed or something like that. If they're not supposed to, you're supposed to have access to the beach. It's supposed to be public. But I've heard that some people have had issues with some of the more modern hotels trying to force people to pay to use sunbeds to go on the beach, where technically you don't have to. You can bring your towel on there, go for a swim, not use their sunbeds, not pay them. You're not obligated to, but they might approach you and try and get you to pay, and just or not. I don't mean I know that's happened in some other places. I don't know if that's happened in Dhermi. What I can say is there is more modern infrastructure there at the beach than there was the first time I came here, which is kind of a shame because I really liked it the way it was. But the old town is still the old town, and if you can get a place to stay there, it is just absolutely stunningly gorgeous. And you won't have it'd be next to impossible to rent an Airbnb or something there, or get a booking, a private rental that doesn't have a stunning view of the sea, because it's on that mountain and it just absolutely gorgeous. Really nice place. There's also Porto Palermo, which is a castle that was built mostly. I mean, it had. There's always been defenses there since the Greco-Roman period, probably since the Illyrian period, because it's a very protected harbor. I also have a video on Porto Palermo, so that's something you can check out. That'll give you much more of the history and show you what the castle looks like. It's on a little peninsula that goes out into the bay, which used to be an island, but now it's connected by a little bit of a land bridge that's been built. So you can walk out to the castle. Really stunning views. The castle is in really fantastic shape. What you see today was mostly built under Ali Pasha, who was a Albanian regent under the Turks, who, like Skanderbeg, also tried to rebel and throw off the Turks. And that was one of his castles. And he was also a very dark and interesting character. He started his life as a thief and a bandit, and then became an administrator of the area. Used a lot of his knowledge of thievery and banditry to make things work and to root out crime, because he knew how the criminals would do things and stabilize the region. But he also had a lot of enemies, and it didn't work out well for him. Eventually, after he tried to secede from the Ottomans, he ended up having his head cut off and literally put on a silver platter and delivered to Istanbul, where his head was then put on a rotating silver platter. So that's Ali Pasha's fate. It's a bad time. You don't want to. You don't go up against the Sultan unless you know you can win, and unless you have lots of allies. And apparently, a lot of people didn't like him, so it didn't work out well. But his castle's still there. It's in superb shape. Porto Palermo, very worth seeing. Very worth the stop off to go see the castle. There's also Porto Palermo Bay, which we'll go back to the Cold War a little bit. And there's an old submarine base there. Sometimes there's access to it, sometimes there isn't. The Albanian military takes it over once in a while, or maybe has taken it over permanently and no longer lets you in. But I know a few years ago you could go into the old submarine base, and there were actually a few old Soviet submarines that were there, just like rusting hulks in the water. I don't know if there's still, and there was a submarine tunnel that goes into the mountain. You can still see that all from the road. I don't know if tourists can still get access to it or not. I'm sorry, I don't have that information. It's been a while since I've been there, but it is a really cool place, and it's worth seeing. Let's see. There's also Borsh Beach, which I haven't personally been to, but that's another one where there is some castle ruins up on the mountain behind it, and then it also in the valley on the shoreline there is a really nice beach, and it's very worth seeing. Oh, it's not the same not having Andrea here trying to do this all verbatim, so I apologize, folks. That'll bring me to Saranda, which is probably the most popular place for tourists in Albania. It's a modern city. It's not too big. It does get a little crazy in the summer. I've only been there in the shoulder seasons, but I've seen a lot of video of people being there in the high season, and it gets a little bit, for my taste, it gets a little nuts. Even in the shoulder season, it's hard to find a place to park. I can't imagine what it's like in the middle of summer, but if you are into high energy scene, and if you like the nightlife, if you like clubs and music from restaurants and stuff out on the water, it does have a really nice pedestrian walkway that goes the length of the town. There are some really good restaurants there. There are some interesting ruins. Dan from Schengen says, "Sorry, we're late. Where's Andrea?" Sorry, Dan. Sorry, Valentino. It is technically like Mother's Day here in Albania. So she is out with some of the women tonight, and so I'm doing this by myself. So, but thanks for coming, Dan and Michelle. I really appreciate y'all's support. It's just me tonight, just going through a list of some towns that are worth visiting if you come here to Albania. And I'm on Saranda, so and this is all southern towns. I don't know if I said that, but towns basically south of Tirana. So Saranda, like I said, very modern. New buildings. It's kind of in a horseshoe, kind of like a horseshoe shaped bay. Beautiful sunsets over the Ionian Sea, and gorgeous place. Really, really nice to spend time there. Really good restaurants. Nearby, there are some interesting ruins. There's an old monastery at the top of the hill, and God, I'm sorry, I think it's I can't remember the name of the monastery, uh, but there's a ruined monastery at the top of the hill that's pretty neat and has some catacombs in it and stuff that you can wander through that are pretty interesting. But the town itself is modern and has a lot of modern conveniences, and it's basically set up for tourists. And one of the things that a lot of people do, and you certainly should do, I think, if you visit there, is take a ferry over to Corfu. I mean, Corfu, Greece is right there. Like you stand on the shores of Saranda, and it almost looks swimmable. In fact, I think some people have actually swam across during the dictatorship to escape. Very worth seeing, if you, especially in the off season or the shoulder season, I should say. So things are open, but it's not crazy. um, Dan says they stopped in Borsh, cute little town. Yeah, I haven't actually been in Borsh. I stopped there once and did some videography of the castle up there, but never went down to the beach or anything. So I don't know that much about it, but I do know a lot of people like going there. It's kind of one of the more low key places. Like Dhermi, Himare, Borsh, they seem to be. They are. I mean, it's still got tourist infrastructure, but it's not like a city. Like Saranda is like a city, and it's mostly a city that is kind of catering towards the tourists. And so a lot of people go there for beach holidays, lots of resorts, that sort of thing. Um, in the off season, it's still active. I mean, there are enough people there that it's still an active town, but it's not like Vlora, which while it does have that tourist infrastructure, Vlora is really like it's an Albanian city. So year round, there's stuff going on in Vlora and Saranda. In the off season, things slow way down. Um, but yeah, you can get ferries from there to Corfu and back. And I haven't been to Corfu yet, but it is definitely on the list. And I think next time I visit Saranda, I'm gonna check out Corfu and see what that's like. And that brings us to Ksamil, which is just south of Saranda. Ksamil is entirely for tourism. If you go to Ksamil in the off season, everything will be closed. Even on the shoulder season, I went and I had to walk around for about 40 minutes just to find a place to eat. It was nice having the whole place to myself. It's when you see some of the drone footage and stuff from Albania that shows like these islands out in the turquoise water and stuff like that. And they call it the Maldives of Europe. That's Semil, and it's stunning, but it is 100% like a tourist town, and it gets very busy in the summer. Everybody wants to go there because of the incredible scenery, and in the off season, it is just completely dead. But if you I prefer that. Like it'd be nice if you could find more places to eat there. But I really enjoy the fact that I can go there and just have the beach all to myself. And usually it's still warm enough to go swimming. I went swimming there. I was the only person in the water. You look at it in the high season, videos of it in the high season, and there's tons of people in the water and boats and all that stuff. So that's not really my scene, but maybe it's yours. And if you kind of like I was saying in Saranda, if you like clubs and you like beach party kind of stuff, places playing music and that sort of thing, you'll probably really enjoy Samil. Now near Samil is probably the best archaeological site in all of Albania, and that's Butrint. Butrint is a really amazing place. Ancient, again, just like all of these ancient cities, starts as Illyrian, eventually becomes Greek, and then Roman, then Byzantine, and the Venetians had it for a while. Really huge archaeological park, very well preserved. This is a place where it started getting flooding, and so kind of like Apollonia, it got abandoned, and almost everything is still there. So there's a really big ancient theater. There's lots of walls and ruins. There's a Venetian tower, an old baptistry with a beautiful mosaic in it. It's usually covered for protection, but certain times of year they'll remove the covering, and you can see this beautiful mosaic that's there. Really interesting place. If you're in southern Albania and you have any interest in history whatsoever, or just enjoy the scenery of being around ancient ruins and so forth, Butrint is a really cool place. There's also a couple of castles nearby. Another one of Ali Pasha's castles is right across the little waterway there. And then there's a Venetian castle a little ways up the waterway there, all very close to one another and very worth seeing. At the very top would have been the Acropolis of the city. There's a museum, and it's very well laid out, and it's small and digestible, and has a lot of interesting things for travelers. So yeah, if you're ever in southern Albania, I can't recommend enough to go see Butrint. It's really a cool place. So oh, where else? Oh, okay. So there's also the city of Berat. A lot of people have probably seen videos of Berat in the city of I think it's 10,000 windows is what it's called, because it's all Ottoman architecture, mostly intact. There's a modern city, but then there's also the old city. And then at the top of that town, there is a huge castle, which actually has a village in it. The castle is very much intact walls, gates, ramparts. You can walk along the top of the walls, and some places have beautiful views of the valley and everything. I highly recommend if you're anywhere near Berat. It is a stunning place to spend. I would say 2 days. You want to there are some museums and some interesting things to see. The old town is, like I said, it's full of Ottoman architecture. It's a very unique place, and you can wander around through the cobbled streets and little shops, good restaurants, that kind of thing, and then make your way up and then spend a day at the castle. There's a cool Byzantine church in there. There's a ruined mosque, and like I said, there's actually like a village or people who still live there up in that castle. So that's a really interesting place. And I've only been to Berat once, and I stayed in an Airbnb in the old town. The family was very friendly, fantastic breakfast. I could sit there on their veranda overlooking the valley and the river, and really cool place. So Berat is high on the list. And if you've ever watched, videos of, top 10 Albania or something like that, it's always on that list. And there's a reason for it. It's definitely a must see if you're in southern Albania. And I would say the same for Gjirokaster. Gjirokaster, once you get into the old part of the city, it's very cool. Same sort of thing. All old Ottoman architecture, lots of windy cobblestone streets, a couple museums, shops, great restaurants, all that sort of thing. A really nice castle at the top as well that actually has I think it's a World War II only museum. I don't think it covers so it does have some other stuff, but it's primarily focused on Albanian independence and World War II. So there's lots of old weapons from the war. There's a tank in there. They have a whole display of German rifles and German helmets and things that were recovered from World War II. There's some World War One stuff. There's actually a U.S. plane from the Cold War era that was either shot down or had an emergency landing in Albania. And as a trophy, the Albanians, under the dictator, put this American plane up by the castle, so you can see that. Very cool place. I tried to get my parents up there, but we had a rental car, and it was a big Mercedes, and we had issues getting up to the top of the castle. And normally, the times I had been by myself, I just park at the bottom and walk up to the old town. But it's tough. My parents are older, so it's an old town, and from medieval times, so it's up at the top of the hill. So trying to get to it means a lot of uphill walking. That makes it tough. Alyssa Scrabble Buddy, got to run, family thing. Hey, thanks for joining me, Alyssa Scrabble Buddy, and thanks for all your support and always chiming in. Again, I'm sorry everybody, Andrea's not here. It's Mother's Day here in Albania, so she is out enjoying her evening with the ladies, and she'll be back next time we do a live stream. Again, we probably won't have one next week, but maybe the week after. We've got a lot going on next week. So yeah, that's Gjirokaster. It is, if you're not fit and you don't have a way to get up to the old town, it can be a little challenging. The new town is a pretty big city, so you can park in the new town, which isn't too bad, and then walk up to the old town. But if you're older, it's a real challenge, especially in the heat of summer, because it gets quite hot in Gjirokaster. But once you get there, it is a really cool place. Really great architecture. A really big, interesting castle with all that World War One and Two memorabilia in it. Well, not memorabilia, but artifacts, I should say, from the two wars, and with some interpretive centers and some old like propagandic art and things like that from those eras. So well worth seeing. And then of course going around the ramparts of the castle, incredible views of the valley and then the mountains on the other side of the valley and everything like that. Very, very worth seeing. So Gjirokaster it's definitely another one of those top 10 Southern Albania sorts of places. And that brings us to my neck of the woods, finally. Man, this is tough to do without Andrea. Pogradec. If you're coming the opposite direction, so we've already talked about basically going down the coast and the Riviera on the west coast of Albania. This would be if from Tirana you decide, oh, you know what, I'm going to go east and head towards Korca. You'll go through Elbasan, which there's an old castle there, and it's pretty cool. It's worth a stop off. There's a really good restaurant inside the castle on the western side of the castle. You walk through and really nice manicured gardens, really good restaurant, really good prices. And then, basically get back on the road. Then you head and you get to Pogradec, which is where I live. And Pogradec is a really nice town. It's on Lake Ohrid. Lake Ohrid is Europe's oldest lake, and it is its second deepest. So it's like a little inland sea, and it separates Albania from North Macedonia. So if you're sitting on the beach of Pogradec and you're looking at the distance, you're seeing the ancient city of Linknidos, which is now called Ohrid after the lake, on the opposite shore, and that's North Albania or North Macedonia. Sorry. And that's one of the great things about living in Pogradec. So we are where three countries come together. So there's the border of Greece and the border of North Macedonia very close by. The border of North Macedonia is actually basically in Pogradec. You go around the east side of Pogradec through the village of Tushimist, and you'll be on the Macedonian border. You go through that border checkpoint, and you're on the eastern shore of Lake Ohrid. Beautiful drive, couple of really nice Macedonian villages, and then you get to the city of Ohrid, which is an absolute must-see. It's not in Albania, but if you come to this side of Albania and you're spending any time in Pogradec, I'd say, it's a crime not to rent a car and go up to Ohrid for a day, because it's a really magical, very well preserved medieval Byzantine / Ottoman city, which is just it's full of ancient churches and ramparts and walls and defensive structures, and it's right on the lake as well. Again, like these other places, fantastic restaurants, interesting shopping, great place to go swimming, boat rentals, things like that. Really, really cool place, and just absolutely stunning place. So if you're ever in this part of Albania, I do highly recommend you rent a car or get one of the tourist buses and head up to Ohrid. It's worth seeing. Pogradec itself is really nice. We have a really nice beach here. We actually have the oldest village in Europe it's the village of Lind, which is on the western part of Pogradec, and that means the oldest part of it is submerged, but they have dated it back a little over 8,000 years. So it's some of the oldest human settlements in all of Europe there, and very cool place to see. Let's see. Dan from Schengen says the Via Ignatia had two starting points, Apollonia and Durres. They met Elbasan up to Lake Ohrid on the way to Constantinople. Yeah, correct. That's yeah, and you can actually, if you look at, I did another mini documentary on one of the bridges of the Via Ignatia that's here in Pogradec. There's one of the branches that heads down south, not the branch that goes to Ohrid and then on to Constantinople. So that's also on my channel if you check it out. It's like a 6-minute documentary on this ancient bridge that's in the area. So lots of history here in Pogradec as well. We also have a castle that started, I mean, like all the others, starts as Illyrian. I don't think it was ever Greek. I think it was stayed Illyrian for the most part. Had a lot of Greek influence because they did a lot of trading with the Greeks. But eventually, the Romano-Macedonian War happened, and it became part of the Roman Empire, and then of course the Ottomans. And there's not a whole lot left of it. There are some walls and stuff left. I did a documentary on that site as well here in Pogradec, the Pogradec Castle. So check out my channel if you want to see that and get it if you're coming to Pogradec. It's a good primer for the history of this little town, which used to be important. It's formerly known as Enkalina, and now it's called Pogradec, which actually means undertaker, and that's because the water flows out of the North Macedonian side of the lake and goes underneath the mountain and into this part of the lake here in Pogradec. So that's how I got the name Undertaker. Pogradec is nice. We got a beautiful waterfront, lots of really good restaurants. It's one of the more inexpensive places to stay. Again, and you're not on the Adriatic, but we have this big crystal clear lake, and the beaches are fantastic. They're sandy. We have a sandy beach and a rocky beach, but most of Pogradec is a sandy beach with a really nice pedestrian walkway that goes along the beach. And it's a beautiful place. And Andrea and I live here, and we absolutely love it. One of the nice things about Pogradec is it doesn't get nearly as hot as the rest of Albania. So we're at kind of an elevation here. And we also have the lake, which creates a microclimate. So while the rest of Albania might be scorching, like if you're in Berat, it might be like 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Here in Pogradec, it might be in the upper 80s or lower 90s, which is still hot. But like kind of extrapolate that if it's in the upper 90s in Berat, it might be in the 80s here and be comfortable, and you can go for a swim and it'd be really nice. Let's see. Dan has a question. Did the original inhabitants of Lind build in the lake for defense purposes, or so they could go fishing without leaving their homes? I think it would have been a combination of the two things, Dan. Certainly by building your houses on stilts out in the lake, that creates a protective factor. Their primary thing was fishing, not so much agriculture. And what we did see with the castle that's in Pogradec is probably more tension, more raids, and they eventually, while they still retained a lot of their fishing heritage, they did move to the uplands and build this castle where they could be much better defended. And then there was more agriculture and things like that as well. And then eventually the castle was abandoned again for a period during the Roman Empire. And I think that was mostly based on the idea that the stability of the Roman Empire allowed them to cultivate more of the fields. And there was actually right here in my little village of Gustenius, they found some ancient tombs and so forth. And so they could graze their sheep and do agriculture in relative safety. And then during the Byzantine period, the castle seemed to be built back up again. So this is just human reaction to war and conflict over time. And that's one of the cool things about Europe is, war and conflict are terrible, but it did leave us some really cool castles and things to explore and some interesting history. So yeah, they were a fishing community, and it also provided them some level of safety from raids and so forth. But eventually, other people know how to build boats and all, so it got to a point where they mostly abandoned that and then moved up into the hills and fortified and created this castle so they could be better protected against raids, particularly probably from the ancient Macedonians, probably were their number one problem. Um, yeah, that would be and maybe even the Greeks coming from the west. Uh, so yeah, I hope that answers your question. So that's Pogradec. Nice beach, big, massive freshwater lake of clear water. One of the great things about the Pogradec area is we have really good drinking water. We have good infrastructure for that because we have this lake that's all spring fed, and yeah, a cool place. Good food, relaxed atmosphere. It doesn't get as touristy as some of the other parts of Albania, so it's very chill. And you still can come here and have a really nice beach holiday and be relaxed. And it's just a nice place, and it's one of the reasons that Andrea and I picked it separately. We didn't know we met each other here, but we both picked it for some of the same reasons. And climate, um, calmness. It's mostly quiet. It's a big enough city you can get pretty much everything you need. It's a cool place and lots of accessibility. Like I said, we're right on the Greek and North Macedonian border, so it's a short ride to either one of those places. So it's really, really a nice place. If you continue south from here, you will find the city of Korcha, which is considerably bigger than Pogradec, maybe triple its size almost. It's a pretty big city, and it has a lot of really interesting things. The Korcha Beer Brewery is there, and Korcha Beer is a very popular beer, not just in Albania, but it actually gets exported. I even found out you could get it in the United States, which surprised me. But they make really good beer. They make a dark and they make a light blonde beer. Both are very good. Korcha is got some really really nice architecture. Lots of neoclassical buildings, a really some really cool old neighborhoods with some old mansions and so forth in it. Some of them have been refurbished, some of them are run down, some of them are in ruins, and I really like that. I like that uh, the variety. Like, so you walk through these old cobblestone neighborhoods, and there'll be a completely redone neoclassical building, and next to it will be like a mansion that's kind of falling into ruins, and it adds texture, and it just makes for an interesting experience. Korcha, again, full of really good restaurants. In fact, in one of these old neighborhoods, there's a really good French restaurant that Andrea and I love. I took my parents there. I think they enjoyed it as well, and my aunt Bonnie. We all went and had a nice meal. Um, French food is not that easy to find. I even had a hard time finding it in the U.S., but in Corcho they have a really fantastic French restaurant in one of these old neighborhoods. I think it's Le Petit Paris or Paris. So if you're in Corcha and you want to do something unique, and maybe you're like, oh, I've had lots of Albanian food, but I want a really good meal in a quirky place. I really highly recommend the French restaurant La Petite Paris. It's right, like I said, you wander through these cool old cobblestone Corchin neighborhoods, and then there's this French restaurant, and it's basically just in one of the old houses, and it's magnifique, very good food. So Corch is, I highly recommend it. There's also an interesting Orthodox cathedral there, and then there's the old bazaar from the Turkish period, which they have completely rehabbed. So it was kind of in semi ruins for decades, and I think about maybe 10 years ago, or maybe a little bit less, the Albanian government invested a lot of money into the old Turkish bazaar, and it has been completely redone. It's become lined with cafes. It's cobblestone streets again, little shops. Very interesting place, especially during Christmas. Korcha really comes alive in Christmas. Lots of festivities. There's an ice skating rink, lights everywhere. The bazaar has a huge Christmas tree. A really, really, really neat town. It's one of my parents' favorite towns here. Korcha is hard to beat. So So yeah, those are the towns I'm going to go through today. It's been hard doing this without Andrea and having to talk verbatim the entire time. I really appreciate everybody sticking with me and watching. And yeah, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to drop a line. Let's see. Any luck selling the three-story house? I keep seeing expats who want to rent a house instead of an apartment. No, Dan, I haven't had any luck. So if you watch my channel at all, I also do some real estate stuff, helping people try and sell their houses here. And my friend that I generally rent cars from, has a really nice three-story house in the village of Durres here in Pogradec. So if that's something you're interested in, I made a video on it. Visit my channel and check out that video. You can also check out my other videos. Like I said, I have one for Apollonia. I have one for the ancient bridge here in Pogradec. I have one for the castle here in Pogradec, and many, many more. I have one for Porto Palermo. It's one of the first ones I ever did. So if you haven't gone back and watched some of those, please check them out. I really appreciate it. I'm really close to the threshold here for making it here on YouTube to actually get monetized. Having some issues with my account, but I'm working through those. And as last time I checked, I was one subscriber short of 3,000. So if you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and get me over that hump, so I can get to at least 3,000 subscribers. That would be fantastic. But I have been talking nonstop for over an hour now. It is not easy without Andrea here. It's really nice that I go back and forth with her and have her monitoring the comments and so forth. So I'm probably going to wrap it up here. But if you have any questions, let's see. John Gons, this is great video info. Once settled, I'm going to spend the summer riding my motorcycle to a number of your suggestions. Thanks. Yeah, absolutely, John. It's Albania is full of great places to go see. And one thing I didn't mention that I think is kind of important and really special about Albania is, I mentioned I've gone through all these towns and they all offer something completely unique. So you're in this tiny country, but Vlora and Korca are nothing like one another. These are completely different towns. The capital, Tirana, is nothing like any of these places. Himare has got its own personality. Saranda's got its own personality. Pogradec has its own personality. Every place you go in Albania, the town will have a lot of uniqueness, unique architecture. History is a lot of it is the same, but not all of it. Again, like a lot of these towns on the west coast are Greek, to the point where the street signs will be in Greek. So a lot of flavor here in Albania. Lots of interesting places to visit. Korcha, nothing like what you get on the West Coast. Like, all these towns are completely different, and they all offer something completely different. Gjirokaster and Berat, they're close to one another. They both have Ottoman architecture, but they look nothing like one another. They are very, very different. And these are all must-sees. Obviously, if you're coming here, you don't want to hit every place on my list. You want to be able to spend some time. So I suggest you do your research. You look at a couple of these places, and try and strategically move your way through the city, or through the country. So yeah, Tirana any day, in Cruya, then head down to Vlora for a day or so, and then pick something further south of there, or skip Vlora and go straight to like Himare and spend a couple days, and then maybe Saranda. If you get that far as Saranda, you definitely want to go down and visit Butrint. But these are all really, really neat places. They're all very unique. You're going to find some of the same food, but you'll also find a lot of different food and different cuisines, especially when you get to the more Greek parts of the country. And further north you go, and it becomes a little bit more Italian. Although you'll find pretty good Italian food pretty much everywhere in Albania. We have a couple great Italian restaurants here in Pogradec too. So lots of really interesting places. Yeah, so thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you sticking with me. Please subscribe. Like I said, I have all these other videos that go into detail, especially on the archaeological places. Apollonia is one of my most recent ones. I think it's a good video. And I have a video on Voskopojë, which is just outside of Korça, which is a really, really amazing town. It was kind of like a Byzantine refuge after the Ottomans took over, and it's you go a little bit west of Korça, and it's up in the mountains, and it's full of Byzantine churches and everything, and it stayed that way. It was like a refuge after the Ottomans took over, and they allowed them to continue their heritage basically and their culture. And so you had this town that was basically a remnant of the extinct Roman Empire, and it went on for hundreds of years and became a very important Balkan town before they kind of overstepped their boundaries, and eventually the Turks wiped it out, unfortunately. But the town's still there, and it's an old cobblestone. It's all stone. It's very, very interesting. If you visit Korca, I highly recommend it. Plus, it's very peaceful. It's up in the mountains, lots of sheep herding around, and beautiful views. Just absolutely fantastic. So, so yeah, and I have a video on Voskopojë, and I just recently I put it into a couple of film festivals, and it has been selected for the Grand Laurel Film International Film Festival in Italy. So it'll get screened there. I'm excited about that. I'm trying to get some of my stuff more out into the world, so I can grow not just my YouTube channel, but hopefully turn my documentary filmmaking into a career and support some of that with like the real estate videos and the other things I do, in my life here in Albania and these live streams and everything. So yeah, so thanks everybody. Dan wants to know when my next music video is. I don't know, Dan. Like that's like that. I play guitar as well, and by far it's been the worst performing video I have done is my guitar video, which I wrote here. I did it in a moonlit field here in the village with by candlelight, and I'm very proud of it. So if you haven't watched my guitar video, Hene Aplote, I would really appreciate if you check that out. It only has like 304 views, so it has not done well. But the people who watched it loved it. It got lots of likes, and I think it's good. So please check that out. I would appreciate it. I could really use a bump on the likes and the views on that particular video of me playing guitar in the moonlit field. And I did it as a dual part where I played rhythm, and then I came back and I played a lead on top of that rhythm, and it's all made, no AI, all written by me. So it's all my own work, and I'm proud of it. And yeah, I'd like to have more than I think 306 views is what it's at now, and I put it out a couple months ago. So yeah, check that out. I don't know, Dan. I don't know if I'm going to. I will do another one at some point, but we'll just have to wait and see. One of the problems I may be having is this channel might have a little bit too much variety on it. I might be spread a little thin with doing music videos, history documentaries, which is really my passion, the real estate videos, and then just kind of like my life in Albania stuff. So it's a wide breadth. I don't know if the algorithm likes that. So I don't know. Eventually I will do another one. So all right, I am almost out of breath here. Let's see. Thank you. Congratulations. It's an honor to be nominated. Yeah. I'm really excited that my Voskopojë video has been selected for a film festival, and I have I've submitted it to a couple others, including one in prison, Kosovo, DocuFest, which is a pretty big one. I won't know about that for a few months, but hopefully that gets accepted, and that festival will be in August. And I think I'm going to travel to that either way. It's a big film festival. Lots of movies being screened, and it's supposed to be a cool thing. My friend Alyaz and Julie, they turned me on to it, and without them, I probably wouldn't have submitted to any of these festivals. So thank you to Alyaz and Julie. And yeah, I think I'll definitely be attending that, whether my film gets selected or not. But let's hope it does. And if you haven't looked at my film Voskopojë yet, please check it out. It's a little bit different from the one that I submitted to the film festival, because the one on YouTube has got the typical at the end, oh, like and subscribe to my channel and support me on Patreon, blah. I had to take all that out for the one I submitted to the film festival and add some new voiceover to the end. But it's 99% the same video. So yeah, please check that out if you haven't seen it yet, my video on Voskopojë. And visit Voskopojë. If you are here in Korca, Pogradec, Korca area, and you're looking for a really cool day trip or an overnighter, highly recommend it. It's stunning, up in the mountains, ancient Byzantine churches everywhere, cobblestone streets, all the buildings are stone, a couple of really good restaurants, one in particular, shout out to Taverna Voskopojë, great food, really love it. Probably Andrea and my favorite restaurant here, especially when it comes to traditional Albanian food. Like we had a couple of really just fantastic meals. They make something called tabakosi, which is a lamb that's slow baked in yogurt in a clay pot, and it's just, the lamb just comes apart, and it's just so good, so good. Highly recommend it. So yeah, folks, I've now gone on for an hour and 9 minutes. I can't believe I went this far without Andrea. Unbelievable. My throat's sore. I need a drink, and I'm hungry. So thank you so much for all your support, everybody. I love you all. I really appreciate everyone who chimes in every week. Again, neither Andrea nor I will probably have a live stream next Sunday. We have a lot going on. We're going to try and have one the Sunday after that, and we'll be in a special location for that, hopefully. So hopefully we can get that together, but don't expect to see us next week. And again, I love you all. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Hope to see some of you, the ones of you who follow me on here personally. Hope to see you guys soon. Mom and Dad, I love you guys, and thanks everybody. And yeah, to wrap it up, I hear my dog's out there. The call to prayer at the mosque is going, so now my dog's howling along. So he likes to sing along to that. So good night, everybody. Not Namir. And usually Andrea does the turn off, but I'm going to do it this week. And not Namir.